Many of the world's tallest virgin peaks lie deep in the Himalayas and Karakoram. Some are off limits for spiritual reasons, others sit in disputed territory, and a few are just so remote or dangerous that no one has ever stood on their summits. What they all share is a strange silence, a summit no human has touched. This list includes 9 of the most fascinating unclimbed mountains on Earth. They're sorted from the lowest altitude to the highest, and the final few are wild. One of them is considered sacred by multiple religions, and another has never even been attempted. Stay with me. The reasons why no one has climbed these peaks might surprise you. Let's begin our journey with a mountain that doesn't just remain unclimbed. It's untouchable by design. We fly across the Tibetan plateau toward a dark, symmetrical peak rising alone in the middle of the wilderness. It's more than an unclimbed peak. For millions, it's a sacred symbol. Welcome to Mount Kailash. Mount Kailash stands at 6,638 meters. It is not the tallest on this list, but without a doubt the most spiritually significant. Found in far western Tibet, it rises almost alone above the landscape, a striking black pyramid dusted with snow. The shape is so sharp and clean that it doesn't seem natural. It looks carved, sacred, untouchable, and that's exactly how it is seen. Mount Kailash is one of the most important religious mountains in the world. 4 major faiths regard it as holy. In Hinduism, it is the legendary home of Lord Shiva. In Buddhism, it is believed to be the center of the universe, the cosmic Mount Meru. Jains believe their first teacher attained liberation here, and for the ancient Bon tradition, it is the seat of power. Every year, thousands of pilgrims travel across the Tibetan plateau to walk around the mountain. This sacred route, called the Kora, takes days to complete. Some do it in a single push, while others prostrate themselves along the way, inching forward for miles. But no one climbs it. The summit is off limits, not because it's especially dangerous, but because it is considered a divine place. The Chinese government, which controls the region, has never granted a single permit to climb Kailash. Even legendary climbers have tried and failed to get access. Reinhold Messner once asked to make a symbolic ascent, promising not to step on the summit. His request was denied. There are rumors that someone may have attempted it in secret, an unconfirmed solo climb, a quiet disappearance, but nothing is known for certain, and most climbers, even elite alpinists, choose to respect the boundary. It's not that Kailash can't be climbed, it's that climbing it would mean breaking something, a global understanding, a quiet shared reverence that has lasted for centuries. Every other mountain invites challenge. This one insists you stay away. Mount Kailash is the only summit in the world that remains untouched because nearly everyone agrees it should stay that way. From the remote plains of Tibet, we turn toward the heart of Nepal. A ridgeline rises out of the mist, narrow and sharp, shaped like a blade. Locals call it the fishtail, and no one has ever stood on top. This is Machhapuchhare. Machhapuchhare stands at 6,993 meters, just shy of the 7,000 meter mark, but it dominates the skyline of central Nepal. The name means fishtail, and from almost every angle, the double summit ridge does look like a tail slicing through the clouds. It's one of the most recognizable peaks in the Annapurna region. Climbers pass it on the way to the Annapurna base camp. Trekkers photograph it at sunrise from every village, but none of them have ever reached its summit. The fishtail is technically unclimbed. In 1957, a British expedition led by Wilfred Noyce made it within 150 meters of the top. They stopped just below the summit out of respect for its spiritual status and turned back. That's the highest anyone has ever gone. Since then, the mountain has been completely off limits. It's considered sacred by the local Gurung people and by many across Nepal. Official climbing permits have never been issued since that one expedition. Today, even attempting a route on the mountain would be illegal. That hasn't stopped climbers from asking. It's an iconic peak, not especially high, not especially technical, but incredibly beautiful and dramatic. To many, it's a dreamline, but the answer has always been no. And that's part of its mystery. Machhapuchhare is one of the few Himalayan giants where the shape is familiar, but the summit remains unknown. No crampon has ever touched its top ridge. No summit photo exists. It is pure, untouched, and likely to stay that way. It may not be the tallest unclimbed peak in Nepal, but it's probably the most visible. In a country filled with massive mountains, this is the one that's only meant to be seen. We leave the familiar trails of Nepal and fly east, into a region few people have ever explored. Below us, the land folds into deep, hidden valleys and sharp ridgelines with no roads, no villages, and no maps. Ahead is a mountain almost no one has heard of, but it's one of the tallest unclimbed peaks on Earth. This is Sanglung. Sanglung rises to 7,095 meters, hidden deep in the eastern Himalayas within Tibet, just near the border with Nepal. It's part of the little-known Namcha Barwa region, a maze of sharp peaks, steep river gorges, and almost no human presence. The geography here is so extreme that many of the mountains remained unmapped until satellite imaging caught up. Sanglung itself is barely mentioned in most climbing records. It has no established routes, no base camps, and no documented attempts. In fact, most of what we know about it comes from satellite data and topographic surveys. This isn't a mountain that defeated climbers, it's a mountain that has never been tried. Part of the reason is its location. The terrain around Sanglung is almost impossible to navigate. There are no direct approaches. The closest paths cross rugged high-altitude passes and glacier systems, with no infrastructure, no villages, and no supplies. Just getting to the base would be a major expedition. And yet, Sanglung is tall, over 7,000 meters. It dwarfs many famous peaks in the Alps or Rockies. But in this corner of the Himalayas, it is just one of dozens of unnamed or barely explored summits that sit in complete isolation. There is no record of a permit ever being issued for Sanglung. No team has claimed an attempt, and no route has ever been scouted from the air or ground. It's rare to find a mountain this high and this untouched, not because of politics or religion, but simply because it's out there, buried in some of the most rugged land on Earth. In a world where so many peaks have been photographed, mapped, and climbed, Sanglung remains blank. We now move along the eastern edge of the Himalayas, where the mountains form a jagged wall between Bhutan and Tibet. Below us is dense forest, steep ridges, and a borderline that few are ever allowed to cross. Up ahead is a peak taller than anything outside of Asia, yet completely untouched. Tongshanjiabu stands at 7,207 meters, making it one of the highest unclimbed peaks in the world. It sits right along the disputed border between Bhutan and the Tibet Autonomous Region of China, in a zone that is politically sensitive and physically inaccessible. The mountain itself is massive and steep, with a high, snow-covered summit ridge and dramatic faces on every side. But the real reason it remains untouched isn't just difficulty, it's that no one is allowed to go there. Bhutan has long prohibited climbing its high peaks, especially those considered sacred. Even trekking permits in this region are rare and expensive. On the Chinese side, access to this part of Tibet is strictly controlled. As a result, there have been no recorded attempts on Tongshanjiabu, no official expeditions, no detailed photos. In fact, for many years, there was confusion over its exact height and prominence. Only with satellite data did its true size become clear, and that's one of the strange things about this mountain. It's taller than every peak in the Americas or Europe, but most people have never heard of it. Even among mountaineers, the name is unfamiliar. It's not a prize peak, it's a ghost, large, real, but always just out of reach. There are no climbing permits, no routes, and no summit records. Tongshanjiabu is a blank line on a contested map, and that may never change. We leave the shadow of Tongshanjiabu and fly west along the high border between Bhutan and Tibet. The land grows colder, harsher, and more isolated. Ahead lies a peak that stood unclimbed for decades, steep, silent, and overlooked until just recently. This is Karjiang South. Karjiang South stands at 7,221 meters, rising in a remote region of Tibet near the Bhutan border. For decades, it was considered one of the highest unclimbed mountains in the world. Steep, obscure, and rarely mentioned outside of elite climbing circles. That changed in 2024. A Chinese team successfully summited the peak after years of speculation and limited access. It was a major achievement, not just because of the technical challenge, but because of how little was known about the mountain before. There were no established routes, no detailed photos, and only one recorded attempt by a Dutch team in 2001, which had turned back due to dangerous conditions. Karjiang South is steep, icy, and remote. Its upper ridges are narrow and corniced, with broken glaciers hanging on nearly every face. It sits in a zone with no villages, no base camp infrastructure, and strict access controls. Even reaching the mountain requires days of effort across rugged terrain. What makes the 2024 ascent so impressive is that it was done on a peak many had forgotten. Karjiang South had no reputation, no fame, just a height on a map and an unclimbed summit. Now, it has a first ascent in a place in modern mountaineering history. It may no longer be unclimbed, but it remains remote, serious, and rarely spoken of. One of the great hidden giants, no longer waiting, but still wild. From the eastern Himalayas, we now cross into the Karakoram, a land of rock, ice, and deep geopolitical silence. Below us lies the Siachen Glacier, where military lines blur with nature's raw edge. Here stands one of the last great unclimbed summits. This is Apsarasas Kangri I. Apsarasas Kangri I stands at 7,243 meters, deep in the eastern Karakoram, near the Siachen Glacier, a militarized zone between India and Pakistan that remains one of the most remote and restricted places on Earth. The name Apsarasas means place of the dancing spirits, but there's nothing light or graceful about this mountain's surroundings. It sits in a frozen war zone where no permanent settlements exist, and where both India and Pakistan maintain outposts at extreme altitudes. The mountain itself is huge and glaciated, with multiple sub-peaks. The highest of them, Apsarasas Kangri I, remains unclimbed. There have been a few expeditions in the region, most notably by Indian Army teams, but the summit of the main peak has never been reached or documented. Part of the reason is political. Foreign climbers are generally not allowed anywhere near this part of the Karakoram, and even domestic access is limited to military personnel. But even if politics weren't in the way, the mountain would still be a major challenge. The glaciers are heavily crevassed, the ridgelines are steep, and the altitude pushes into zones where few climbers have experience. What makes Apsarasas Kangri I unusual is how little is known about it. Despite being taller than many famous 7,000ers, it has no established routes, no satellite images of climbers on its flanks, and no summit records at all. It's a mountain that's visible from a distance, marked on maps, and yet remains untouched. Not because it's legendary, but because it's locked away behind fences and frost. We now turn north, staying high above the Tibetan plateau. Ahead lies a long ridge of sharp peaks that stretch into the sky like frozen waves. Most of them have been mapped but never touched, and one of them stands out, steep, isolated, and still unclimbed. Lapche Kang III stands at 7,250 meters and holds the position of the 93rd highest mountain on Earth. It lies in the central part of Tibet, along a rugged and icy ridgeline that has seen almost no human traffic. From satellite images, it looks like a fortress, steep slopes on all sides, broken glaciers clinging to its base, and no clear line to the top. The highest point in the massif is Lapche Kang I, which measures about 7,367 meters. A joint Chinese-Japanese expedition reached that summit in late October 1987, climbing from a 6,200-meter col on the northwest side and pushing up the west ridge. After that first ascent, there were no recorded attempts on the main massif until 2010, when American climber Joe Puryear tried the west ridge. Tragically, he fell to his death and the expedition was aborted. Part of the confusion surrounding this mountain is its name. Early surveys called a 7,072-meter sub-peak Lapche Kang II, but later research recognized a separate 7,250-meter summit east of Lapche Kang I as the true second peak. The only documented bid for the 7,250-meter summit came in 2016, when a small Polish team managed to secure a permit after weeks of negotiations with the Chinese consulate. On October 12th, the climbers launched a summit push, They later wrote that the climb was extremely long and technically demanding, with endless snow and mixed ice pitches. No other expeditions have returned since. Lapche Kang II remains unclimbed due to a mix of isolation, strict permit restrictions, and serious climbing difficulty. There are no mapped routes or established camps, and both the 2010 and 2016 attempts turned back below the summit. It's one of the tallest peaks on Earth still waiting for a successful ascent. We now drift deeper into the Karakoram, where towering spires rise above endless ice. Down below, a quiet ridgeline hides one of the least known high peaks on Earth. Not a main summit, but a formidable sub-peak no one has ever climbed. Its name is barely known, but its height is undeniable. Summa Ri rises to 7,286 meters, just west of the Baltoro Glacier in Pakistan's Karakoram, a place where some of the highest and most iconic peaks on Earth crowd the skyline. It's part of the Skilbrum Massif, often overlooked on maps and barely discussed even among seasoned climbers, but its summit remains completely untouched. What makes Summa Ri so interesting isn't just its altitude, it's the combination of obscurity and difficulty. This isn't a sacred mountain or a politically restricted zone. It's simply a mountain that has defeated every team that's tried. The most notable expedition came in 1998 when a Scottish team attempted to climb it. They reached the base after a long glacier approach and began working their way up a potential route, but deep snow, unstable ice, and constant rockfall forced them to turn back. They described the terrain as serious and unrelenting. Sharp ridgelines, avalanche risk, and no safe bivvy spots above a certain height. Since then, Summa Ri has faded even further from the spotlight. It's not marked on popular trekking routes, and very few climbers even consider it a potential goal. Anyone attempting it would be navigating blind, dealing with unpredictable conditions, and likely operating completely alone, and yet it's still there, just waiting in the shadow of more famous peaks, quiet and severe. For the right team, Summa Ri could be one of the last great first ascents in the Karakoram, but it won't give up its summit easily. We now fly east, away from the icy ridgelines of the Karakoram, and back into the cloud-wrapped peaks of the eastern Himalayas. Here lies the final mountain on our list, the tallest of them all, and the only one that may never be climbed. This is Gangkhar Puensum. Unclimbed, untouched, and, officially, the highest mountain on Earth where no human has ever stood. Gangkhar Puensum sits on the border of Bhutan and Tibet. Its name means White Peak of the Three Spiritual Brothers, and to this day, it remains off-limits to all climbers. Unlike other peaks on this list, it's not the terrain or technical difficulty that keeps people away. It's the belief that this mountain is sacred. In Bhutanese culture, the spirits of the mountains are real, and climbing their highest peaks is considered a violation of that sanctity. In the 1980s, Bhutan briefly opened several peaks to foreign climbers. Gangkhar Puensum was attempted 4 times between 1985 and 1986. None of those expeditions reached the summit. The maps were unreliable, the weather turned quickly, and the teams either turned back or were forced off the mountain. Then, in 1994, Bhutan banned all climbing of peaks over 6,000 meters, and in 2003, that ban was made permanent. Even attempting Gangkhar Puensum now is a violation of Bhutanese law and spiritual tradition. One Japanese team attempted to climb the mountain from the Tibetan side in the 1990s, but even that effort was stopped due to political pressure. The closest anyone has come was in 1999, when a team summited a subsidiary peak, Lapche Kang III, just across the border in Tibet. From there, they saw the summit of Gangkhar Puensum, untouched and unreachable. What makes this mountain so compelling isn't just its height. It's the idea that some places are meant to remain wild. It's a rare example of a world that hasn't been mapped. There are no summit records, no known route, and no plans to change that anytime soon. For now, Gangkhar Puensum remains exactly what it's always been: unreachable. One question remains: will these peaks stay unclimbed forever, or is it only a matter of time? What do you think? Leave a comment, Drop a like if you enjoyed the journey, and subscribe for more mountains, maps, and mysteries. Also check out this video about easiest high altitude peaks that you can actually climb.